Hello there, Qckslvrslash, and today we have a video courtesy of 1289 driving the Tier 10 German destroyer, the Z-52. And I haven't made it this far up the tree. I'm still back at the Tier 7, but like any branch, seeing the high tier games really makes you want to kind of hop in and grind them. Now, looking at the Z-52 right from the start, it looks pretty typical of the Tier 10 destroyers. You got two double-barreled guns up front, one double barrel on the back, and a couple torpedo launchers, each holding 4 tubes. Now, the one downside to this line, at least supposedly lower, is the concealment, but by the time you hit this top tier, I find all these ships kind of blend together. Their roles and their differences become more subtle. Case in point, detection, and I'm guessing he's running concealment and mod and skill, is 6.1, which that's a reasonable concealment for a destroyer. And that's one of those things that really kind of makes top tier interesting, is because the major differences between ships is so subtle, you can really push a ship into a role it's not necessarily meant, but it also means you need to be more flexible. You need to be able to fill roles that maybe you don't feel you're intended for, but you can still do. A good example for the Z-52 is the Germans don't have great smoke, but at this tier, any smoke is good smoke, especially for teammates who are getting focused down. So it's just a small example of, those little plays that maybe you don't think about at the start, but do really matter. And in a destroyer, smoke is a big one. Once again, a lot of people don't think of the Japanese destroyers as, this destroyer that's great for smoking up and covering teammates. But the reality is, what you do can be so critical. Now, 1289 has pretty much charged into Charlie alone. He did type in chat that he was going there, and then some teammates kind of went, well, maybe AB. But he's had no fear. He's got into the cap and pretty much sailed straight through it uncontested. You can see the enemy team looks, from who's been spotted, to be well down at the south. The other thing that really makes this push possible for 1289 is there's no carriers. Despite this being a very high tier match, in fact, almost everything is tier 10, 4 ships aren't. Without a carrier, you're a little more free in a destroyer. When there are carriers present, you have to play cautiously. Too often I see a destroyer think, I'll just play like I normally do. They go charging off, a carrier spots them, just hovers some aircraft above them, and pretty much has them removed from the game, because only so much hiding you can do, and those top tier carriers have absolutely devastating strikes when used properly against a destroyer. But without that presence, really the only thing 1289's got to worry about here is the enemy DDs, who a couple have been spotted, and obviously one at least went down to A, and none have been up at C, so he pretty much knows he's safe there. So he's got to worry about the enemy destroyers, and then radar. You keep away from those two things, you're pretty much free to sail around and do whatever it is you like. And bit of a replay bug there. I'm guessing he swapped targets to the hipper before firing those torpedoes off, but it stayed locked on the curve first. And interestingly, he did one widespread and one narrow. And I think he's doing this to use the widespread to cover in case that hipper maneuvers, and then put the narrow right down the lead indicator in case, like so many ships, the hipper just sails in a straight line. But he does appear to be turning, so it'll be questionable if 1289 can get any torpedoes in here. And the one reason I don't use widespread is I find the gap can be a little too easy for enemy ships to get through. I'd rather randomly throw a tight grouping somewhere than a wide grouping, at least on something like a cruiser. Especially since, well, the hipper's got Hydra. Now against a battleship, you're probably safe doing that widespread, and there's the enemy Udaloy 5 kilometers away. He pops his hydro and his smoke, and this is where these German destroyers are so deadly. They're able to see out. That Udaloy is inside hydro range, or just detected by allies. He sees the torps pretty much the second they come out. He's got his speed boost active too, going astern, and uh-oh, he's almost backing up into land. Get that rudder over. You don't want to pin yourself and eat one of those torps by mistake. He slips past, and he's good. Now, obviously, the next thing you've got to worry about is the hard detection, and that's exactly what's happened. That Udaloi probably has vigilance by the looks of it, because he is at about 2.4 kilometers, but detecting. So, 1289 gets himself going. No reason to hang around. Get away with your life. Don't try to overplay things. If you're detected, if you're spotted, just get out. Destroyers are much more effective late game than they are early game, at least in my opinion. So if you can keep yourself alive to that late game, where you have opportunities to sneak in, take the oh-so-critical caps, and, you know, hunt down battleships that can never find you, that's when you really make your impact. And, you know what I was saying? Use wide spreads against the battleships. He's done just that. The narrow spread's going to miss, but one of these PEDs is going to connect. He gets 11,604 damage and the critical flood. And watching the damage counter in the top, it's going up. That Qckslvrslash, having been the target so many of his teammates were firing at, I can pretty much guarantee you either ate a ton of fires or took a flood earlier. So he's fair game, and you can see everyone focusing on him. 1289, even bringing his guns into the mix, eager to just work a target down. And at these high tiers, focus fire is critical. The Qckslvrslash is a tanky ship, but when you have 5 or 6 different people all laying fire down, even it doesn't stand a chance. And you can see the hit points melting off. The ship is filling with water, the crew's scrambling because she is a goner. And bit of a shame 1289 didn't get the final tick, but got the damage and did the help. And poking around Reddit and the forums recently, I've noticed a lot of people complaining about losses. And one of the things I brought up is, you know, hit that F3 key, have focus fire. And the instant response I got in a couple cases was, yeah, but then someone's just going to take your kill. Kills shouldn't matter. If that's all you're getting into a matchup for and focusing on is, oh, how am I going to get, you know, 3 kills and show everyone up, that's how you lose games. The way you win is smart plays and just good decisions. You do, I mean, they're really the same thing. You do that if you make good decisions and just play kind of, you know, without trying to hog kills or anything to yourself, you're going to have a better impact for your team. And ultimately, the kills, the damage, all of that comes. Just keep making the right decisions, and you're going to get those games where ships are presenting themselves on, you know, single hit point, single hits, and you're going to get the damage. And, well, 1289 fired these, I believe, at the Yamato, but they're sailing straight in to that enemy smoke. There was a destroyer, takes out the Qckslvrslash, a very deadly destroyer, and those cabs can absolutely work over ships at tier 10 just by kiting. And it's kind of interesting that that enemy cab did push up so aggressively into a position like that. I really think he would have been super well suited to just kind of sit back here and be working this Qckslvrslash and Hindenburg over. Instead, he finds himself stationary in a smoke, eats a couple torpedoes, and 1289 gets the kill. And for a second there, I thought those other friendly torps going into that smoke were hitting things, but I realized they were all just reaching their max range. Bit of a shame there, and uh-oh. 1289 spotted. He was going in for the assault. The decent AA takes the spotting plane out, but there's another one. Can't buy a break here. We know there's a Yamato somewhere just inside that smoke. And he's got the Hydro. And this is a pretty smart play there. So he gets the Hydro up. He sees where the Yamato is. He fires one set of torps. That Yamato's only got 2,000 hit points. Appears to be flooding or sinking. He didn't even need them, but he fired the one set to assure there's a gearing, slams the brakes on, hits the smoke, and puts the guns to good use. His Qckslvrslash coming, not really to the rescue, because 1289 would have had that, but the Qckslvrslash finishing him off, and next up is this enemy Montana, who's doing what so many battleship captains seem to do. And that is sitting bow in and kind of just slowly trying to back away, tanking the damage. And there are situations for this. This is not really one of them, and you'll see that Montana is just completely caught in the open alone. There's no destroyers near him, he's not going to get smoke. Multiple ships are working him down. He just put the fire that was lit out, which means these torpedoes, which are looking half decent, might get a flood here. Or 1289 can just work him down, you know, 700 to 1,000 damage a volley here. Very reasonable number. There's the fire, and that fire is going to stick. Montana put the first one out, so now 1289 is just going to slowly stack up the damage. The torpedoes didn't go the distance. I can guarantee you he swapped over to the rune there for a second before launching that set, and this game is looking pretty secure. No one's gone up to Charlie, so that early cap massively paying off for the team, giving them the lead. The other two caps are split, and got an Izimo trying to sneak around in behind. 1289 takes a look with his torpedoes, is getting himself going astern. He's swinging himself over, trying to get that torpedo rack onto target. And you can see he actually holds off a second. The Izimo looked to be turning, so he took a shot with his guns, just pausing. He was spotted and maybe got a little lucky he didn't eat more damage there, but these Peds are looking good. 22,000, well, 21,393. The friendly Iowa finishing him off, and another target that 1289 just didn't get to kill, but really helped take off the enemy team. And those are the things that get you the wins. See that friendly Qckslvrslash made the charge in at the Montana. Montana finishes him, but the friendly Kiev finishes the Montana, and now this fight is getting a little bit more spread out. And that kind of sucks for 1289 in a way, because he's not particularly close to the Montana, who is really the ideal target to go after. You know, a Zhao is a very quick, very maneuverable cruiser, and if it's being played correctly, that guy is going to be maneuvering a lot, which means 1289 is probably not going to get torpedoes in, and that's not really a gunfight you want to get involved in with 3,700 hit points. The Qckslvrslash's position, it's unknown, but I haven't seen any torpedoes flying around, and well, Charlie is being capped now, so we know where the Shima is, and that means every ship is spoken for. And I'd almost say this is a situation that could get out of hand, but I don't think it will. And the reason I say that, they've got a couple 100-point lead, but they're about to lose a cap, and because the enemies are spread out, there's no real focus down on any one target. But a Yamato and a Rune should be able to work down a quarter health Montana. And you can see the hit points kind of just melting off. This Ibuki here also chipping in. Meanwhile, the Zhao to the south just kind of keeps closing an Iowa and Hindenburg. And maybe he's just going for a torpedo run, hoping he can get one last kill before the game ends. The Montana just got finished off by the Ibuki's fire, and that leaves just the Shima and the Zhao. And being a destroyer, no surprise that Z-52 is going after the Shima. He's got that hydroacoustic search back and ready, so despite the absolute wall of torpedoes that can be constructed by that Qckslvrslash, there shouldn't be a risk to 1289 here. And this really could seal the end of his game as far as damage goes. And the reason for that is, you know, the Shima made its play. It is hopefully going for, you know, the points, hoping his teammates could hang on. But with the Zhao honestly getting a little too close for the role that ship plays. He's melting. There are the Shima torpedoes. Looks like they're just blindly fired down the gap. And that was only 2 sets, so there's one more somewhere. Now, 1289 hasn't been spotted for a while, but was spotted coming over here at the end on when he first started, which is probably why those PEDs were fired where they were. So you've got to be a little cautious. You also worry that maybe that Shimakaze is sitting just around one of these corners, just waiting for a torp ambush. You never really know at the end of the game, and honestly, this one, it's over. There is realistically no way for that Shima to come back from this with where the points are, who's left on the team. 1289's just going back to take that cap he started the game out with. You know, it's his. He doesn't want anyone else to have it. He's going to lock it down, and, well, the Shima shows up, so 1289's not going to get the chance to cap. And look at that ship just evaporate. And to me, that was a fun game to watch. 583,000 credits, 7,100 XP, Witherer, devastating strike, 165,000 damage. He only got the 1 kill, but there were 3 or 4 other ships that he really helped work down. And it's kind of a shame that he didn't send in the damage page, because I would have liked to see that, you know. And that's why you can't put everything into stats. So many people just look at kills or damage. They're the only things that matter in their mind. But this was a great game by 1289. Only got 1 kill. I know I've shared others where people have done 200, 300,000 damage and not really gotten kills. You don't get them every game, but once again, make the right plays and they come to you. And in another match, played this well, he could have had a Kraken. And that's what I think kind of makes Warships interesting in a way, is sometimes it's just a bit of luck of RNG and timing. And despite 1 kill, second on his team, and that shows off the strength of this game. You know, the solo cap at the start that really put his team ahead. The enemy team should have sent something there. They had a lot of ships there at the start. I'm kind of curious why they didn't try to push it, or at least, you know, poke at it. One of the destroyers could have gone up, just seen if it was free, but no one did. 1289 took it easily, and then just started flanking around the enemy team, throwing torps at them, using the guns, and really mixing it up, getting the game done. Anyways, thank you 1289 for sending this one in. I enjoyed it. I hope all you did. If you did enjoy it, please consider subscribing or liking the video. And as always, I'm Qckslvrslash, and I'll have another one for you guys later.